Hello, I hope you're having a great, blessed day today. And if not, hopefully by the end of today's message, you'll be feeling a lot better. And if you're doing good, then that's awesome to know. And be sure to spread the love, spread the joy you're having in your heart with others. Now, today we're going to go ahead and start on the book of Matthew, chapter 13. And this is the beginning where Jesus starts to speak. Well, it isn't the whole time, but he'll begin to tell us different stories that are told in what they call a parable. And a parable is kind of like a riddle to where we're being told a story and we got to figure out the moral of the story. And some of them we're going to get, some of them we're not going to get. But what's really cool about parables is the more acclimated we get, the more used to reading our Bible and understanding how Jesus speaks and what he's saying. The next time we read a parable, it might come to us real clearly on what his meaning is for us to get out of it. So we're going to go ahead and start with, once again, the book of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 1. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, as a farmer went out to sow his seed, as he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path. The birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places, where it didn't have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 30, or 60 times what was sown. He who has ears, let him hear. The disciples came to him and asked, why do you speak to the people in parables? He replied, the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For I tell you the truth, many prophets and righteous men longed to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is the seed that was along the path. So now Jesus is going to go ahead and explain to us exactly how the seeds fell along different parts of the path in different places, and he's comparing these seeds falling in different places, he's comparing it directly to our faith, and how, like, when we really need God and he's there for us, we're really praying hard, so we might be the seeds along the path that fell in the soil that wasn't deep, and the seed came up right away, and that's us. We grew in faith right away, but then once we got what we wanted, or we were saved to a certain extent of what we're trying to get through, then, like he was saying, the sun choked it out. So we get to a certain point, and then we don't grow in faith anymore. We start to rely on our old ways, our human nature, instead of our spiritual nature, and then we're just right back to where we started. So he's going to explain each seed and where it fell. And remember, this is our faith. The one who received the seed that fell on the rocky places is the man who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since he has no root, he lasts only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, he quickly falls away. The one who received the seed that fell among the thorns is the man who hears the word. But the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke it, making it unfruitful. So this is the guy who receives the word and wants to believe in everything God teaches us, but the ways of the world still consume our thoughts, consume our actions. So even though the desire is there, the will isn't. But the one who received the seed that fell on good soil is the man who hears the word and understands it. He produces a crop, yielding 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. So that's our growing faith. We got to continue and continue and continue to grow. And if we get to the point where we think we know it all, or we've fully developed in our faith, then we're just kidding ourselves, and we've got to continue to grow. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat, and went away. When the seed sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling up the weeds, you may root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, 'First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn.'" So, this is a really cool one too, as far as how Jesus allows the believers, the Christians, to grow next to those who are non-believers. And when we think of the analogy part, to where he's comparing the weeds to the non-believers. So eventually the non-believers get burned and tossed into the fire. So when we take a little more time and read the scripture repeatedly, it becomes more and more clear, because the parables just make so much sense. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all your seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and perch in its branches. He told them still another parable. Now, when we talk about the mustard seed, think how when we start with just the smallest bit of faith, and what it grows into. And also the seeds that we plant into other people's minds, as far as seeds of faith, and how eventually those seeds of faith grow into hope and joy for other people. He told them still another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into a large amount of flour until it worked all through the dough. Okay, so if we know anything about baking, we know that a little yeast goes a long way. And without the yeast in the bread will not rise. So think about that kind of a parable, to where we can be the yeast in someone's life, where we can help others rise with just a little bit of inspiration, with just the planting of a few seeds. That can be us. Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. So was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the creation of the world. Then he left the crowd and went into the house. His disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He answered, "The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. As the weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age, The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will weed out his kingdom, everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let him hear. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. Once again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. Wow, this is pretty cool because you kind of automatically know he's talking about us. And all kinds of fish, all kinds of people from all kinds of different places around the world where we can unite as one community, as one church. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up on the shore, and they sat down and collected the good fish in baskets, but threw the bad away. This is how it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous, and throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all these things? Jesus asked. Yes, they replied. He said to them, "Therefore, every teacher of the law who has been instructed about the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house and who brings out his storeroom new treasures as well as old." When Jesus had finished these parables, he moved on from there. Coming to his hometown, he began teaching the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed. Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? They asked. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? And aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't all his sisters with us? Where then did this man get all these things? And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, only in his hometown, in his own house, is a prophet without honor. And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. So, Jesus was speaking in these parables, and I guess part of it might be why he started speaking at this point, because he was in his hometown, and they weren't going to believe a lot of what he had to say anyway. So eventually, by speaking in parables, like we were talking about earlier, as they do eventually come to us and an understanding comes to us. So maybe that's kind of the message he was leaving with them too, because it was his hometown and he knew that they would only receive so much of what he had to say. Now we're going to go ahead and end today's message at this point. We just finished with chapter 13. So hopefully something today went really well with you, and hopefully you'll be able to share your joy and hope and faith with others, and we'll continue to grow in hope and faith and continue to bring others and be a light in the world, and be sure to share your messages of faith and hope with others, and subscribe to this channel if you would, please, and have a great blessed day, my friend. Peace and love.